Hey everyone, Redneck Computer Geek here and my midgets. We're out on a tractor hunt today.
I'm taller than a midget, thank you.
We're going after what is, in my personal opinion, the last of the actual Craftsman GTs. So it's an actual 6-speed GT3000, and it's the last of what I think are the actual GTs because it has a 633 in it. This one's had it's had a mishap. We'll take pictures of the mishap soon. These GTs are pretty darn rugged. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, so I always take a little bit of video coverage when I pick them up so that it shows the condition they were in.
Yeah, I've cut the grass now for over a year and a half, and I've never been able to cut that corner.
It's been here for a year and a half?
I would think so.
Yep.
But I kept telling her, if we could just get it started and come and save more, my kid will buy it just to run around the yard.
Yep.
She's like, no.
Alright, you ready there, Evel Knievel?
Yes.
Okay.
Too far?
No, that'll work. Brakes work. Well, let's get our first real look at this. I don't know if this hood will actually come off without pulling this bull bar on the front, but we're gonna try. Somebody already ripped out all the wiring for the lights, or they were part of the fire. So, there it goes. So right now we've got it on the lift because of the fact that I'm expecting to have to change a bunch of stuff. I don't know how in the world you managed to do that to wheel bearings. That is probably the worst one I've seen in a long time. So I've got those rims, which are off of that unit over there. And I'm going to see if I can punch the cores out of the rims, the bronze bushings, and see if they'll go into those GT rims. They should fit. But the reason why we've got it on the lift is because I'm not expecting much out of this motor, but we're going to try and revive it anyway, just because. And part of the reason why it is that we're going to try reviving this, if it's not a blown out cylinder, is because it does not have the coil control box on it. It's just a regular standard Kohler with regular standard coils. So, excuse me, John. So, as we come around, you can see right here, that is coiled up from where the fire was. So that must have been up and over the top of this somewhere. We've got our fuel pump, and our fuel pump is right there. And it lit the side of it on fire. Now the cylinder head doesn't look as if it took too much of the damage to begin with. That front is definitely gone. Can't see what the filter looks like from here, but we'll find out later. And if we look up here, so that is the silhouette of our carburetor. So I'm expecting that carburetor to be utterly toast. For those asking, this is a 21 horsepower V-twin. And, I mean, I've obviously got a few different valve covers here. Well, of course, that one's a Briggs. But we've got a few different valve covers to be able to choose from for parts and stuff. I don't intend to sell this machine. I intend this to be my personal machine. So, we're going to go ahead and undo as much as we can. There's no sense in trying to start this until after we can get this off of here, even though it's managed to plastic weld itself entirely together. We'll see what happens. Now, I know you all want to know whether this will turn, and the fire burnt through that. So, luckily it's got a nice little hand grabbing point. Maybe they all should come this way. Nope, that's not going to turn nicely at all. That is... Okay. I'll hit the brake, you try and turn it. Okay, I got the clutch out. Can you turn it? Go ahead.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Breaks the flywheel.
So something's not happy. Let's see if we can get the plastic off. Alright, so as usual, the PCV valve hose is cracked on these. And that has nothing to do with fire. That just has to do with Kohler's PCV valves usually suck. This does not seem to actually be accomplishing anything. So I think we're just going to rip on it and we're going to see what happens. So there's the first piece. The fire definitely came up in through here. There's a certain section of the flywheel that's blatantly burnt more than the other. And I guess we're going to just pull on this and see if it'll pop, maybe. There we go. As we pull on it, it seems to be coming out just a little. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just imagining things in hopes that this goes well. Let me see here. We'll find a screwdriver and maybe try and pop this upper section. Not sure what to think here. Oh, well, there goes a piece. Well, there's some more pieces. Yep, that's plastic welded itself together. Well, that was the mounting screw for that side. There we go. So there's that piece out of there. And will this come off now? There we are. So there's that. That looks great. That's good and charred. So if we took it off in this direction, and the fire's coming from here, so the fire had to have started down in this area somewhere. What's interesting, if we bring that around, and we look at this front plate, you can see the fire char is here, but this is all nice and pretty. It didn't get inside of there, so it definitely started outside the carburetor. So let's put you guys back up here. And let's see if we can get that cover off of there. Well, the cover seems to have wrapped itself around the shroud. There we go. So there's the cover, which you can see wrapped itself around the shroud in there. And that whole thing is filled with soot. Okay, I'm going to bounce you guys out of the camera mount. So this has been a continuous stream. You guys are seeing this just as we're seeing it. So yeah, that is burnt right off. That coil looks fine. Random zip tie piece. Those wires are burnt and live. So we're going to have to deal with that before we try and fire it. This right here, this is the wire that goes down to the solenoid in the bottom. And I was actually expecting this to be what looked as if it was the cause of the fire, but I don't think it was, actually. Because the fire seemed to have started over in this area, but I don't really see much. I still think it was most likely the solenoid. And that is the ground. That is burnt to crisp. So I think at this point we're going to pull the carburetor and see what we can do there. And what's interesting that I notice here is that the intake is not burnt through. I was actually expecting that to be flambasted and burnt all the way through right in here, and it's not. So I'm going to see whether that intake actually will survive. So there we go. That's where we're at. We're going to pull that carburetor off and go from there. Actually, while I can get to this, let's see if we can turn over that flywheel now that we can get a better grip. So, sorry about the shaky. I just want you guys to see this as I'm working on it. Okay, better grip, take 2. Well, that's compression there. And that's definitely a second compression there. Yep, that's got compression, without question. There we go. Can you stomp on that clutch? Yep, that's compression. Oh, there's only slight compression on that side. That's not a good thing. Okay, so I think at this point we're going to pull that carburetor down, double check all the wiring to make sure that there isn't a stator coil wire that's grounding out against something, and then we'll see if it'll fire up. And we'll even do it with this fricasseed flywheel top on here. At this point, the more that I get into this, the more I'm pretty sure it started with the exhaust. Because what you can definitely tell is there was definitely fire down in this area. And you can see blatantly the fire came up through and it charred this. And fire tends to go and travel in a straight line upwards from its starting location. So if it started right down in here, that would explain why it is all of this back area, even up in there, is all charred. But yet this side is not charred, as you can see. So I think it started down here in the exhaust. It flamed up through, ended up in here. See, I was expecting to find a leaking gas line or something that came down onto the muffler, but I don't think there was. I'm pretty sure we have a case of just mouse nest. Because as you come up here, there's a little bit of charring here and a little bit of charring there. But it definitely was more concentrated into this particular area. And the solenoid, which I was expecting to be charred, is not. The backside of it is, but the fire definitely started further down. So my bet is it was probably a mouse nest in underneath, some oil because of lack of pressure washer maintenance, and just one little spark, and that was the end of it. I think it's probably just due to the heat that it went through, but I was really creeped out that this was just simply hand tight. It didn't require a wrench at all in order to undo. I literally just grabbed onto it with my fingers and undid it. So maybe the heat just caused it. There we go. And there's that. And that looks in really good condition. There's hardly anything in the bottom of it. I say we try and clean this thing up and see if it'll fire on this carburetor. If not, I've got one for a 25 horsepower, which would be a little bit too much, but at least we could test it on that. For the void your warranty junkies out there, you've got this weird solenoid that's in these Kohlers, and what you do is you put this side into a vise and you throw a wrench on this end, and there it is. That is the hidden solenoid that you have to cut off. So basically you make sure that it ends up with that pinhole there being open when you cut this off and you put that back in. Alright, we got our booster pack here. We got the carburetor put back on. Full disclosure, this is here, but there is no gas in the system. We're going to try a spray of go-go juice and then see if we can actually get it to kick over. The kill wire is disconnected because we pulled the primary wiring harness and we got the solenoid cut out of it. John, pull the choke. Good job. And let's see if it'll do something. Well, that's a little melodramatic.
What was that sound?
Apparently, that is stuck. Ah, looks like I'm working on that next. Alright, so this is a Bendix style setup, and these are put in with reverse Torx, which are these. If you don't have a set, you really should pick one up as soon as possible. There's a lot more stuff now that's showing up with these dumb 6-sided reverse Torx. I'll make sure there's a link in the description for the set that I use. And so you take out the 1, 2, 3 that are right here, and then inside here is that. And over here, if I pull down on it, I should be able to get there, the gear to pop out. So the gear is out. That is in the down position. Now if I come over here and I push that in the up position, it goes away. So I need to grease the snot out of that, and I need to hit that a couple of times and make sure whether it actually works or not. We got our ground there. We got our positive there, and we got our solenoid switch here, and we should be able to get that to fire. There we go. Cool. And as you can see, there's some smoke coming off because that pulls quite a bit of amperage. So, now let's go see if we can start a motor. Alright, it's getting cold. It is getting dark out real quick, but John and I are bound and determined to see if we can hear this thing fire tonight. Yes. So let's see what happens at this point. Right. John, open up the choke.
Sorry, open.
Nope, other way. Okay, close the choke. Okay, and here we go. That's a good start. Tomorrow we start fresh and we see if we can manage to go and get it running on gas. Well, I'd say at this point we're at the moment of truth. We're gonna clip on the starter wire here, and we're gonna hit the starter and see if this thing will decide to actually fire on gas in the tank. Well, unfortunately, one of the things that I hate about these GT decks is that they love to seize the blades. So let's see if this one will move. There we go. And if you're dealing with any machine that is sat even remotely close to a significant amount of time, more than a year or so, always try and break the blades free before powering up. I know sometimes I don't do that, but most of the time that's because it's a machine I don't expect the deck to survive. This one here, I'm hoping to use the deck. These blades definitely need sharpening. Holy cow. There's some big giant whatever going on here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is about as blunt as it gets. Wholly blunt. If I can spin this one around. Oh, wrong end. Wholly blunt. So yeah, that's going to need some new blades by next year. But it's spinning up. So I guess at this point, we'll drop it down and see what we can do next once we put the cap on. See if this thing will actually fire up on its own wiring harness. Yeah, I don't know who enjoyed the idea of giving this thing a racer type camber. But maybe they should have used the right stuff. I don't think that's the right washer. Do you? We gotta fix that before we test drive it. Even if we throw some smaller tires on, we gotta do something. You know, over the years I've seen a few cases of just to add more grease and keep going. But this one definitely has got to take the cake. Just add more grease and keep going. Well, I guess I'm going to go and hunt the junkyard for a spindle to put on at some point. Alright, so this has got to be one of the worst spindle sets that I've ever seen. They left it wearing on the inside against there to the point that they wore that whole thing off. What's interesting is I actually discovered that the original 1980s GT spindles that I had actually fit. So the GT spindles were about 1/8 of an inch taller and about 1/8 of an inch longer, but that just meant a couple of washers in my 1980s parts fixed my newer machine. So we haven't tried to start it up on its own battery and ignition system, which is what we're going to try now and see if we can take it for a drive. And if you ever go to start one of these for the first time, the high-low you want to make sure is in high or in low. It's very common to get bumped into neutral. You want to make sure the center is in neutral. Brake all the way down, choke out. Let's see what happens. Well, that's melodramatic.
Not a thing.
Alright, so somewhere we have some sort of electrical gremlin. So let's quickly hotwire it and we'll take it out for a drive. Alright, let's try this again. So we got positive here. We got a positive wire coming off of our positive. We got ground up there. And we've got our kill wire disconnected. John, pull it up. Oh. There we go. PTO. Okay, so somewhere we've got some sort of safety wire that's being stupid. We have a governor that needs to be adjusted, probably because of tensions from the fire. Springs tend to lose their springiness when you overheat them and you burn them, so that probably needs to be replaced. We've got a spare motor to do that. And as far as the PTO engagement goes, we're just going to put a 20 amp switch right there. I finally have my personal machine, guys. This is what I've been hunting for like 5 years now. It took an engine fire to find one, but I got it.
We finally have Halloween.
Us. What?
We finally have Halloween, too.
Yeah, thanks.
Halloween. Yes, he loves that mower.